Hired Farmer John, and it is Tuesday morning, and we are wrecking a bunch of stuff this morning. Taking the transmission apart, getting the input shaft taken out of this transmission. For your information, the 440 does have a large transmission for the later years, and the way you tell is the 2x4 cover on the top. The smaller one was about a takeoff from the 430s, and it did not have that cover and had the smaller transmission. We get calls for transmission parts. Need to know if you have that large cover or if it's just blank under there. If it's blank, it's going to be an early 440. But this is a look at the transmission, and you do have to take the transmission out to pull any of your gears out. For those that are wondering if you can do repair from the top, you do have to take it apart, and the clutch housings have to come off to get the ring gear out. Anyhow, see those on there. There's the bottom. The other thing I'm working on right now is track frames. I think we get calls for people wanting to change the roller from underneath. Okay, Mr. Rooster. In order to take the rollers off, you do have to take the track frame off. I think it'd be very difficult to do it, trying to lay underneath it and take the rock guards have to come off to get. You can see I've got my rock guards off. But you can't. I've got this flipped over because, of course, we've already salvaged this crawler out. But we have flipped this over to get to our rollers. Since we have 10 of them, we'll take the ones that are good, of course, and the ones that are bad, we'll just do away with. We do have, if you need just rollers and not any of the axles or the housings, we're going to start selling them both ways, because I have some that have good axle shafts, and I have some that have bad rollers. So if you're needing the parts to rebuild them, we're going to start selling them that way also. You just have to be patient with us till we get some taken apart, which we're going to start doing here pretty soon. So if you're going to take rollers off, my suggestion would be, is you can, with the right side up, you can take one track frame off by just unloosening the bolts, and they will slide out from the sides. They've got the bolts on the top, which you can see there. So basically, you're going to unloosen the 4 front and the 4 rear bolts off them, and those will slide right off the track frames, and then you can flip one track frame over. And yes, you do have to take the tracks off. The front idler, we cut this one off because the rods are no good. We're gonna start having bolts and rods for the springs here pretty soon. We're working on that right now. Some of the new parts we're going to be carrying. So just stay in touch with those. But we'll have the new bolts and the rods for the 440s. But anyhow, so we're going to pull these out, and you can see what I had to do: pull the inner and outer track frames off. And then we go through, and I heat all my bolts up before I try to take them out. I just put a little bit of heat to them so they come out easier. And then if you want, you can peen the tops of them. It just helps on the air gun when you go to take them off. But anyhow, a lot of work to take the undercarriage off, but those are some pictures and what to do taking it apart. I'm going to get ready to do this side over here. If you guys are in need of track frames, we usually have the track frames and the rock guards. The other thing is, on the front of these, you'll notice on the track frames, when these start getting worn, a lot of people ask what can they do to build them back up. Well, what I do is we sell just the front about 20 inches. We'll cut these off and keep them for spares. So if you're in need of a track frame, just the front parts, we can sell you about 24 inches of them. And you'll just weld them back in and reinforce the front and the rear on them. That's how we do them. If you got to replace the ends on them for the sliders, for the wheels, front idlers. And you can see I've already got one cut off here. We cut the tail sections off. And you see how thick they are. So all you do is weld it back on and reinforce it from the front. Save you from having to pull the whole track frame apart. So those are some other ideas when you have your front idler tracks are wore out, or frames. And I'm going to get ready to cut these front ones off also. But anyhow, that's how you do on the track frames and undercarriage rollers. If you got to take them apart, this is sort of the process, the upside down process. But like I said, if your tractor is upside, right side up, you'll just take off, slide off the one side, You can flip it over and work on it, make it a lot easier for yourself. All right, Farmer John signing out. Good hot day here in Georgia. I think we're going to be up to, what are we getting up to today? 90 what, Larry?
90 something other.
94?
94, 95.
All right. But it's hot here already in Georgia, here in Taylorsville. But anyhow, that's a shot around the shop here this morning. And the process on the 440 track frames, 420s, and all the others are going to be the same way of taking them apart. All right, Farmer John signing out.